Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Saturday, March 25th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with WWE Smackdown, broadcast live last night on Fox from the MGM Grand Garden in Las Vegas. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were sneak attacked by the Usos during the closing segment of the show. Owens had Zayn as a guest on the KO show, and the two addressed their WWE Tag Team title match with the Usos at WrestleMania before the Usos hit the ring and jumped them. The two teams faced each other down to end the show. The opening match of the night saw Cody Rhodes make his return to a SmackDown ring for the first time in 7 years, getting the win over Ludwig Kaiser. After the match, Rhodes accepted a challenge to face Bloodline enforcer Solo Sikoa on Monday for the final Raw before WrestleMania.
When it comes to you, undefeated and as good as you are, like I said last week, you're not ready. And as for the champion, Roman Reigns, after Solo finds out that he's not ready at WrestleMania on April 2nd, your boy Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, will find out the same thing. He is not ready either.
In an angle later in the show, Rey Mysterio finally accepted the challenge of his son Dominic for a match at WrestleMania. After weeks of refusals, Rey accepted the match after punching his son in the face, taking exception to Dominic's harassment of his mother and sister, who were seated at ringside.
You pushed me. You pushed me to do this. I didn't want to hit you. You made me hit you. You don't disrespect your mother like that. That's my wife. You wanted a fight at WrestleMania? You're on.
The confrontation immediately followed Rey's match with LA Knight, which Rey lost thanks in part to the distractions of Dominic at ringside. Also on the show, Intercontinental Champion Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre took part in a contract signing for their triple threat match at WrestleMania. Sheamus' associate Butch jumped Gunther during the segment, which led to a match between the two, which was won by Gunther. McIntyre took out Gunther after the match with a Claymore kick. In other results, Shotzi and Natalya beat Xia Li and Natalya in a qualifier for the Women's Tag Team Showcase match at WrestleMania. After the match, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey announced that they would also be taking part in that showcase match. With some corporate news, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
Vince McMahon paid $17.4 million yesterday toward the costs of the WWE Board of Directors' investigation into his alleged sexual misconduct, according to an SEC filing, first reported on by Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. Additionally, McMahon agreed to pay additional costs that may accrue. It is not known if the investigation into the allegations against McMahon is complete. Back in December, prior to McMahon installing himself as a board member and eventually being elected executive chairman, the board had reportedly attempted to prevent him from returning to the company, in exchange for agreeing not to sue him for costs related to the investigation. The investigation pertains to allegations that came to light last summer, which alleged that McMahon paid out millions of dollars in hush money over several years to former employees with whom he was alleged to have had sexual relationships. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
In injury news, Ronda Rousey has confirmed that she has been out of in-ring action due to an elbow fracture which she sustained in her last wrestling appearance, a house show in Rockford, Illinois on February 26, in which she teamed with Shayna Baszler to defeat Tegan Nox and Natalya. Rousey made the information known yesterday in an Instagram post. Rousey mentioned that doctors still have not cleared her to perform, and it is not yet known if she would be ready in time for WrestleMania. although she did take part in an angle on SmackDown that indicated she might be. With some more All Elite Wrestling news, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
AEW's first house show brought in a live attendance gate of just under $100,000, according to information obtained by WrestleNomics. The kickoff of the AEW House Rules Tour, which took place March 18th in the Hobart Arena in Troy, Ohio, grossed $99,975 in ticket sales, with 2,929 tickets sold, at an average per-ticket price of $34. In merchandise sales for the show, fans in attendance paid an average of $8.41 per person, for a total gross revenue of $24,640, 80% of which went to AEW itself, coming to $17,994 after taxes and fees. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
In Ring of Honor news, 2 world title matches have officially been made for the Supercard of Honor pay-per-view event taking place March 31st at the Galen Center in Los Angeles. Claudio Castagnoli is scheduled to defend the ROH World Championship against Eddie Kingston in the main event, and El Hijo del Vikingo will defend the AAA Mega Championship against Commander, according to an announcement from Tony Khan. The match would mark the first time the AAA title was defended on a Ring of Honor show, and also the ROH debuts of both Vikingo and Commander. Impact Wrestling last night presented the 14th annual edition of Sacrifice live on pay-per-view from the St. Clair College in Windsor, Ontario. In the main event, the Time Machine trio of Kushida, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin defeated Frankie Kazarian, Rich Swann, and Steve Macklin. The original main event of Impact World Champion Josh Alexander against Rich Swann had to be changed to the 6-man match when it was revealed earlier yesterday that Alexander would be out of action with a torn triceps. As a result of the injury, Impact stripped Alexander of the title, ending the longest Impact World title reign in history at 335 days. All 3 defending champions retained their titles last night, with Impact World Tag Team Champions Ace Austin and Chris Bay defeating TMDK, X-Division Champion Trey Miguel successfully defending against Lince Dorado, and Digital Media title holder Joe Hendry beating Brian Myers. Bully Ray defeated longtime rival and radio co-host Tommy Dreamer in a bloody busted open match. After the match, Bully's cohorts, the Good Hands, attacked Dreamer, but were fought off by an array of Impact wrestlers, as well as Impact President Scott D'Amore, who executed a Canadian destroyer on Jason Hotch of the Good Hands.
Wait up. Oh my God! Oh, Canada! Oh, Canada! Scott D'Amore in Windsor with a Canadian destroyer!
Also on the show, the status of Impact Knockouts champion Mickie James was addressed, with James no longer able to defend the title on the show against Jordan Grace due to an undisclosed injury, and also unable to defend the title next Thursday at Impact in New Japan's Multiverse United event in a scheduled Fatal 4-Way with Deonna Purrazzo, Giselle Shaw, and Miyu Yamashita. Impact Director of Authority Santino Marella announced that Thursday's 4-Way would become a triple threat, with the winner facing Mickie James and Jordan Grace in a triple threat for the title in April at Rebellion. Should James still not be cleared to compete, the Rebellion match would be used to determine a new Knockouts champion. In other Sacrifice results, Purrazzo defeated Shaw, PCO pinned Kenny King, and Speedball Mike Bailey beat Jonathan Gresham by submission. And in news from outside the ring, Trinity Fatu, best known as the former Naomi in WWE, has filed a trademark for the name Trinity Star, according to a Wrestling Observer newsletter report. The purpose of the filing and whether it pertains to Fatu's new wrestling name is not known. Fatu indicated in a social media post earlier this week that she is no longer with WWE. Fatu walked out of the company alongside the former Sasha Banks, Mercedes Varnado, last May. Varnado later trademarked the name Mercedes Moné, which eventually became her new wrestling name outside of WWE. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The wrestling news can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News Podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the wrestling news across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.